This is Radio Waumini 88.3 FM. 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 This is Radio Waumini 88.3 FM.
FM, the Catholic radio station for all, ushering us into the final hour of Waumini Soul Food, my dear listener. 17 minutes past 9 o'clock, and 0712223385 is the SMS line, or on Facebook page Radio Mini 88.3 FM. Good morning, Bram. Amen to the word. A blessed Holy Week to all Waumini listeners. Shalom. Jakababa on board. Thank you so much, Jakababa. How are you today? Thank you. Do have a very, very reflective Holy Week as well. Now, my dear listener, we are now shifting gears to focus on Answers from a Catholic segment, a segment that comes to you every Monday from 9:15, my dear listener. So, as we journey through this sacred season of Holy Week, my dear listener, this Holy Week, a time of reflection, sacrifice, and hope, we now turn to a reality many are facing today, a growing mental health crisis. All right? Yes, a growing mental health crisis. Many people are struggling with anxiety, loneliness, and deep search of meaning, asking, what is my purpose? Where do I belong? All right? Yes, remember, this Holy Week or Holy Week needs to remind us that even in suffering, my dear listener, there is still hope, there is still meaning, and new life through our Lord Jesus Christ. So to help us even understand more about these growing mental health crises, I'm joined in studio by Dr. Mado, who is a psychologist, okay? To help you understand more about that. Do you have a question? 0712223385 or on Facebook page Radio Mini 88.3 FM. Daktari, good morning.
Good morning, Brahman.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
The last time we met was in January.
Yes, indeed. It's been some time since we last met. And I'm happy to see you.
Karibu sana.
Even to be here.
Exactly. Yani before tuanze kwa resima.
Yeah.
Tumepatana kama
I agree, man, right? Sasa tunapatana kwa resima ikiisha.
Exactly. Otherwise, how have you been?
I've been well.
How's work?
Work is there. We are seeing clients and it's growing bit by bit.
Bit by bit.
Yes.
All right, and we'll be getting into that in a minute. But for that listener who's listening to you for the very first time, kindly introduce yourself, Daktari.
Well, thank you very much. Again, my name is John Mado, and my background is in counseling psychology and clinical medicine. And, well, I'm here on behalf of Answers from a Catholic. This is a lay Catholic group that endeavors to provide, as it says, answers to various life questions that the faithful might have.
All right.
And here today we will be talking about the crisis of mental health.
Okay, exactly. And that is, karibu sana daktari. And that is the very reason as to why I really wanted to understand how work has been. Okay? And you have actually assured me that you've been meeting clients.
Yes.
And I'm sure, Daktari, when these clients come to you
Yes.
and you notice some trends, right? You notice some drivers that make people go through whatever they are going through. So from your perspective, Daktari, how serious is global mental health crisis today, and what are some of the key drivers behind it?
How serious is it?
Yeah.
It's in the name. I will begin with it's global. So the issues of humanity, in a manner of speaking, are common, right? Common in the sense that they cut across these ethnic groups. They cut across, let's say, races, so that whatever issues that a Kenyan will be facing is the same as a Ugandan would be facing, or let's say maybe a Caucasian, in a manner of speaking. In this time and age, you find that the internet is something that connects all humanity, but in a manner of speaking as well, robs them of the connectivity that was there prior to its inculcation into normal human users, as we see it being used as of now, in the sense that we could be in the same household with you, Bramwell, but we will not be relating as we are supposed to. Let's say we are siblings, because we are distracted as a consequence of the use of, let's say, the gadgets we have at hand. And this leads to, let's say, comparison of our status of life with whoever else might be in a different part of the world, inducing such issues as of anxiety, as well as depression. Okay, and we see this to be very widespread as of present, and that is simply comparison of oneself with others who are in different parts of, let's say, not really the continent, but let's say the world, kind of on occasion might induce anxiety or depression. And there is the issue of substance use. So we have maladaptive coping mechanisms as a consequence of, let's say, unrealized, let's speak of dreams. So persons are aware of what they're missing, and as a consequence seek ways out of this by employing maladaptive means of coping. And we see this not only in, we don't see this in Nairobi alone, but the same issues people face in Nairobi are the same that persons will be facing in, let's speak of maybe Mombasa or Nakuru. But the same things are what, let's say, Ugandans will be at risk of as well. Let's tie this to the season. Now that you started by speaking of the season of Lent and Holy Week and everything else. Yeah. Why is it that globally it would seem humanity are facing the same struggles? Where is the point of departure? Many of the church fathers speak to us about having been made, God having been created us for himself, and it is in him that we are forever restless until we rest in him. St. Augustine speaks to us about this. Yeah. Right? And to the extent to which we are close to him, we are more at peace. And again, to the extent to which we are farther from him, we will forever remain restless. And restlessness manifests in different ways. And this is where mental health comes in, or the manifestations of this distress, which is in anxiety, depression, or use of various coping mechanisms that are not in themselves constructive, and so use of substances. So that the rapture of the creature, we human beings, from our Creator, and by that rapture is what breeds the distress of mental illness. Okay. And as a Christian who is also a professional, I cannot draw away from acceptance of this particular truth or aspect of thinking. or school of thought in a manner of speaking. Yeah.
And talking about the distress of mental health crisis, Daktari, there is a word you've used, robbing, okay, in your explanation, and I've noted it down.
Yeah.
Robbing connectivity, if my memory serves me right. You see, robbing, it originates, or it comes from somewhere, okay? This is where people feel empty despite having opportunities. Why is this happening in today's world?
The feeling of emptiness,
Yes.
the vacuum. Interesting. Good question, really, and to have caught on to that. How is it that persons feel empty now, you ask? So existential vacuum is actually a word that one of the psychologists of old, that is Viktor Frankl, was the one that coined, okay? And he spoke of, he builds around it by arguing that it means a state of absence of meaning that produces boredom or apathy. Apathy, again, is just simply boredom, okay? And this breeds psychological distress. How it proceeds is that in these days, we have unprecedented access, as we said, to information and opportunities, and individuals experience emptiness and lack of purpose. How so? There is a lot of emphasis on productivity, okay? Achievement and external validation, other than intrinsic fulfillment, okay? What this does is that I don't know, maybe I should give an example. You find that, again, just going back on the issue of use of the internet as much, okay? And we could speak of Instagram, or we could speak of TikTok, or we could speak of Facebook. Professionals, as well as, let's say, students or young persons, whoever is on that platform, often want to project an image of accomplishment, okay? Irrespective of whatever platform they might find themselves in line of profession, okay? And so you see people put forward very perfect images of themselves without, and this does not reflect the background, or this, does not reflect the struggle that is obvious, and it's also unavoidable in human existence, okay?
Yeah.
To the extent that whoever perhaps is in reality does not have any such an achievement to show would remain to feel lesser, okay? And themselves empty, okay? I mean, there is something we spoke about some time ago, maybe just to revisit it, is the aspect of human limitation, whereby, as a consequence of being human beings, we don't have all the power to execute all that we might want to execute, or we don't know everything, and neither can we be in the same place everywhere at the same time. So the awareness of this limitation breeds, to a certain extent, some level of anxiety in us. Okay, and the acceptance of it, however, does the opposite. Will ground us in the truth and have us see that, okay, you know what? As an individual, this is the much I can do as a person, and the very fact that I can't do more than this is a point of humility that, in accepting it, should more or less help me be contented with what I have or what I can do. Okay? And I'm tempted to use the word the arrogance. The arrogance of not being able to accept that kind of is what might bring the emptiness. Okay?
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it. And and I would like to offer that as my response to the question.
All right. And again, as you put it, that today's world lays a lot of emphasis on productivity achievement,
Yes.
etc. All right.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we are chasing the wrong things as a people?
I wouldn't say that. No, we are not. Even in focus on productivity and what was the other question? Achievement
and the third one that you mentioned, I don't know.
External validation.
External validation, yes.
No, it is, to just make it clear, it is ideal that as human beings we work towards a particular goal. Okay. In fact, this is what we wake up to every day.
Exactly.
We have particular goals we would like to achieve, or tasks to improve our livelihood and those of those around us, isn't it? As such, then, we have to produce something. Even here now, in this show, we are, to a certain extent, we are talking about content that affect the community, and in hope that whoever is in audience might glean something from it that will be of benefit to them.
Okay.
And as such, we remain to be contributing towards the common good, which is a responsibility every individual in a certain extent actually have in their existence, I would imagine. But to go back to your question, is it that we are chasing the wrong things? Not necessarily. It is the emphasis that persons might put in these things by themselves that would lead to the disquiet, or might lead to the anxiety inducing, might cause anxiety or lead to depression. So let's say, for example, I'm a professional who is out to provide support to those who are suffering, let's say, in mental health, with the mental health, have mental health challenges, through which I also hope to earn a living, isn't it? And so earn and get some money to pay for my daily needs. And if it becomes that, if the money that I'm earning from this particular practice is my only focus, without any sort of ethical, if I'm not ethical, and so I don't give emphasis on, or rather I don't look out for the benefit of my client, but see how to exploit them, then you see my mode of production, or my mode of practice is immoral. Okay, and so that could apply for any professional. A lawyer, a policeman, could apply for an MP who is in the office only seeking to earn as much money as they want at the expense of his electorate, or a teacher who is only waiting for his money at the end of the month without teaching. So you find that we end up robbing each other of what we are supposed to give.
Yeah.
And where is the fulfillment in that at the end of the day? We have something in us that is called the conscience, that is supposed to help highlight when we are out of line with reality. And to the extent to which we act in departure from what our conscience desires, or dictates to us, then we end up suffering the anxieties that collectively we term as mental, that will contribute towards a crisis of mental health. Yeah.
All right, and I like also just to use the example that I've just given, those different career paths that I've just explained, where we have those people who believe I have to do the right thing for me to get to where I want, and we have those people who believe it doesn't matter so long as I get there. All right. Yes. We have those who the end must justify the means, and the other category means the end. It doesn't matter how you've reached there. All right. And now that brings in the idea of the burden of freedom. Okay. That too many choices can actually create anxiety.
True.
How does this show up in people's daily lives?
Interesting approach, and even a valid question there. The burden of anxiety. Freedom. No, not the burden of anxiety, but the burden of freedom. Okay, freedom being one of the four aspects of the four existential. If you remember again from our last visit, from our last conversation. Okay, one aspect that contemporary man have to deal with is his own freedom
Yeah.
of choice that certain times has been termed to become burdensome. We have autonomy and self-determination that gives individuals the power to shape beliefs and identity and life. And that is our trajectory being where we would like our life to go. However, this freedom comes with the burden of responsibility for the choices that we make. Okay? It's interesting that it doesn't generate anxiety. So let's say, for example, one chooses a path in life, a profession, for example, of let's say being a teacher. And if one was to outsource the responsibility of the decision making of becoming a teacher, then should they fail as a teacher, then they can attribute that particular feeling of, they can attribute their failure to whoever pointed them on that road.
Okay.
But if they reach this decision by themselves and walk this, then as of when they come to a point of failure or difficulty, then you realize that responsibility of choice is something that they recognize to rest upon them. And often that awareness is something that most people have, that, you know what, it's a consequence of the choices I made along this in my life that I am here now. And if it's brought one to a place where they would like to be, then they are happy.
Yeah.
If, however, it has failed to bring them to where they would have wanted to be, then that awareness is anxiety-inducing. That responsibility that, okay, what I did is what brings me here, induces anxiety, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and I like the way you've actually brought it up. And still on this issue of global mental health crisis, Daktari, is this why many people feel lost or unsure about their direction in life?
Okay, so maybe the question is how is it that now a great number of people are unaware, unsure of their
direction in life? Yeah.
Okay. So there is a loss of the traditional forms of structure. There is, okay, how do I put this? There are certain structures in the society that from which humanity drew meaning, okay, and that is or a sense of belonging, like the community, the family, and to a certain extent with modernity now, you see, there is, people are kind of drawn away from such, there is not much value given to the beginning of the sustenance or even the sustenance of a family.
Yeah.
Let's speak of our own culture as Africans, okay? There is a nuclear family, a man and a woman and children, and there is the issue of the extended family, from where one will oftenly draw support, for example. Okay? And we find increasingly now many young people not settling down to begin any such families.
Yeah.
Citing reasons of economic success or pursuing economic and academic achievements.
That is exactly the very common excuse they have given. You saw in the papers the other day, statistics was carried out, and it revealed that indeed most people are afraid of starting a family. Yeah, giving that very reason they've just actually explained.
Academic and economic achievement, progress, isn't it? So which in the contemporary times actually is a valid excuse, I would say. However, you find that we as human beings need a support system. Okay?
Yeah.
None of us is wholesomely sufficient to be able to support themselves through all this life by themselves. It's actually a point of humility to accept that truth. Okay?
Yeah.
Consequently, it therefore would make sense if a person, a man or woman of a certain age, would hopefully end up in marriage and therefore have a partner with whom they could walk through life. And should either one of them kind of suffer some sort of what is it called, disadvantage along their timing of their existence, they could have each other for support. But that being said, that's for spouses. These spouses themselves, let's say they have children, might need the support of their extended family, father and mother, or brothers and sisters, in the event of the demise of either one of the parents. Then you find that if the relationships were kept well, then their children have at least the advantage of falling to their uncles or even their cousins for support. You find that increasingly now, persons are moving away from that. Not many people have kept their relationships warm enough to be able to rely on their extended families out of individualism and even selfishness. Okay, so we are only looking for our own welfare and forgetting those whom we've been born around or have been born around us. And so we find relationship deteriorating to so much so that when at the time comes when I might need help or someone else might need help, then I have no one to turn to. So loss of support structures such as those of the extended family have increasingly led towards distress that most people are facing. You find people, just to give an example, there is a young man I had treated maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He was a student of a local university here. And at the time he was facing, he was only beginning to show symptoms of some mental illness. Okay, it's a psychiatric case, really. I would say he needed he had some convulsions. He was on medicine on and off, and he was beginning to abuse, I would say, alcohol, I think. But anyway, on course of time, his father dies, and his mom and dad dies, and so he ends up alone. He has an uncle who is not really out to help him. So what has become of him? He now lives on the street because he has no family member to support him, and he has nowhere to live. He has no one to pay for his bills. So you see, it's a very unfortunate outcome for this young person.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, Bramwell, how does one end up not having anyone to support them in terms of as a relative? Is it possible that if relationships were taken better care of, this individual might not have ended up alone as he is now?
That's true.
I don't know. It's a point of wonder. It's possible. It's possibly the case. And you find that if and when, as individuals, we get out of ourselves and seek to maintain our social networks, then in times of distress, at least we have someone to turn to. And that will limit very much the anxieties many people are suffering.
Okay. And I like the aspect of brought in, the aspect of family, all right? And you see, again, the generation we are in today, right? We are more connected than ever before through technology.
Yes.
Okay? Yet many of us are very lonely. Why is this a paradox of isolation becoming so common? Yeah.
Good question, I would say. In these days, when we began, this is something I kind of tried to touch on. With the advent of the internet and the phones, you find that any one of us here could speak to someone across the world, any time of day even. And yet, there is some level of isolation. Every individual sometimes would feel lonesome. You find that for us really to be connected, it's not the issue of the internet as such, frankly speaking, but it is the ability for every individual to transcend their own selfishness. Okay, so for me to get out of myself and seek you out, Brahman, and have a genuine conversation over whatever particular issue I might be facing in my existence at this particular time. Am I open enough, or do I find you, just to use an example, if and when we live together or as friends or in the same locality, would I find you to have the time for me? Would you be able to offer me a few minutes of your time to listen to that which I actually have as an issue, and perhaps offer me insights on what I should do with my present predicament? Okay, I think it's yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my relatives, and we came to the conclusion that, you know, the most valuable of all things that we could offer each other as human beings is our time. In fact, it is for this time that we are compensated as employees of various companies.
That
isn't
is
it?
true. I simply give my time
To your
they give
employer,
me-
and they
give
pay
me
you.
money.
Yeah. Doctors charge the same fees for their time, lawyers the same. In fact, everyone gets
Yes.
compensated for that amount of money. And to just get down to that, for us to be connected as human beings, then we must be able to get out of ourselves and share our time generously with each other. And to the extent to which we do that, then much of the issues that we are now talking about, the global health crisis, or whatever crises that are there globally that are causing mental health illness, will be reduced. People are selfish with their time. Even spouses in households hawana wakati wa kuangalia watoto.
Exactly. And not just kids, but also each other.
There you are.
Yeah.
So you find then that many pathologies are coming up simply because persons are very selfish with their time. A husband have no time with the wife, neither does he have time for the children as their father. And so where do people end up spending their time? The screen. And from there proceeds various suggestions. We could say of whatever, you could speak of whatever use of drugs, or is it? We speak of addiction to pornography and such being things that young people are also addicted to.
Yeah.
How is it that they come to this? It's excess screen time, because there is nobody to engage them in something else productive. Maybe is it because of selfishness alone? No, selfishness is one aspect. Maybe people are pursuing money. We want to make as much money to be able to pay for the latest gadgets, maybe. So there is a great level of selfishness that has contributed to a great extent to the present mental health crisis.
All right.
That seemingly is what's coming up from this conversation we are having here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daktari, let me ask you.
Yeah.
In your life, have you ever been afraid of death?
You
When
know,
you just look at yourself, do you fear death?
Brahman, this is a very interesting aspect you now want me to bring forward. My own private assessment of my life and whether I've come to be afraid of death is one other thing that contributes to us distress in this life. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, I have been afraid of death.
Of death.
Yeah.
And so are many people.
Yes.
So why are people, many people, especially today,
Yeah.
so uncomfortable with conversations around the reality of death?
Okay. So, primarily we are self-preserving in creatures as human beings, to mean that we will run away from anything that will cause us pain.
But
Okay.
Proceed.
And besides that,
Yes.
death is, or whatever that might lead to death, is not only pain causing, but it's so final that we don't know what comes after it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
it's only actually in Christian faith that death has no such finality as it has in contemporary life.
Exactly. That's why I wanted us to the conversation to take.
Yeah.
Because on this side, we think that that is the end. But we forget what the good book is assuring us. Okay?
Yes.
Especially during this season for us Catholics. This is the Holy Week.
Yes, yes.
The week that reminds us of Christ's suffering
Yeah.
and even death. All right? And resurrection. But we seem not to understand that as well.
No.
We seem not to be part and parcel of that journey as well. And that is why we are still afraid of the reality of death. That now makes me now want to know or ask this question. How then can faith help us approach death with peace instead of fear?
Okay. Now that you speak of Holy Week, thank you for reminding us that we are on Holy Week, and it culminates on Easter, isn't it?
Exactly, yes.
Our Lord dies on Good Friday, right?
Good
yes.
Friday.
And on Sunday, Easter Sunday, he resurrects.
Yes.
And it is in faith that we take this in. Okay. And why does? I mean, the primary reason. What is the primary reason as to why our Lord even comes to die for us? To die, to be killed. It's simply to redeem mankind from death.
Yeah.
Humanly speaking, without faith, as you put it, life ends at death. At the end of everything. Our ambitions, our relationships, and our achievements. And without Christian faith, then there is no hope. Okay? But the truth of faith teaches us that it's just but a doorway into eternity. Okay? And to the extent to which an individual is privileged by God, because faith is a gift, okay?
Yeah.
To believe this, then you find that they will be more hopeful and not as afraid as those who lack such faith as Christians have of the resurrection. Okay? So the hope is that every individual kind of investigates this particular teaching of Christian faith about not only the resurrection, but the Christian faith in entirety. And the hope that it offers every individual, or offers us as Christians in our life, and this is in the face of the suffering we have to endure with. Okay? In it, there is a hope that in the end, the pain, there'll be no more pain, because that's what resurrection is, because in resurrecting, our Lord defeats death, and he never dies again.
Yeah.
He never suffers again. And the hope is that every one of us as Christians comes to that point of the resurrection, where every struggle that we have to face up to now, that came up as a consequence of the fallen man, comes to an end.
Exactly.
But it's a journey, and with every journey there are trials, and the trials are the pains that we have to endure now. But there comes a time when all this ends, and this ends in our Lord. And to look to him for the solutions, at least as Christians in this.
And you've brought it out well to look up to him. So as we are winding up, Daktari, how can we as Catholics in this Holy Week use this week and the happenings, what Christ is going through throughout this week up to the resurrection on Sunday, help us for those who are going through this mental distress?
Okay.
Yeah.
Two ways of going about this. Number one is, as a professional, there is but the turning towards the means that are already there, and that is the professional counselors and psychologists and the psychiatrists. Some use of medical means for treatment. In fact, the church does very much promote the need for its faithfuls to use very prescribed means to manage their distress. Okay.
Right.
Besides that, we are, as you say, Catholics. How is we to make use of means of this week to help ourselves? certain distresses also arise as a consequence of our own conscience demanding of us to restore or to seek reparation for various ills that we might have committed against others or against ourselves. So there is a confession. For every Catholic to ask themselves, whoever is in audience, when was the last time they made a good, genuine confession? And every person knows the answer to that question. And the church doors are open to all of us to run to the priest to be reconciled with God in the sacramental confession and that of communion. And if one knows whoever perhaps is genuinely sick or depressed or using substances, then the primary thing they need to do is to bring them to a professional. And maybe I might end with an anecdote or something. Another friend of mine was telling me of a person they know somewhere in Makueni who has been is a young man who's kind of psychotic and walking around with barely any clothes on them, and their family is wondering, making the argument that, oh, maybe the guy has been bewitched. Let's withdraw from that and take such individuals to hospital for support.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, Dr. I know we might not meet again such a time, all right? Sababu
mwaka imeisha na Easter ni moja.
Easter ni moja mpaka next year. All right. Next week on Monday pia sitakuwa hapa, okay?
True.
So finally, Daktari, as we approach Easter, what message of hope would you give to that listener who may be silently struggling with their mental health?
What message of hope?
Yeah.
That in sharing whatever they are going through, it's a beginning of restoration of better health or good health, okay? So the idea is find a professional, if possible, and share your story with them. Would be a psychologist or or even a psychiatrist, okay? Or even it could be a priest or a family member. Talk to someone. And it's said that a problem shared is, to a certain extent, solved, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and if there is nobody to talk, I don't think there is. Okay, if there is no one to talk to, I can offer my phone number, 0710 300 114. That is 0710 300 114. Reach out with whatever there is, and in talking, there is hope of restoration of finding of direction of how to solve whatever issue one could be going through now.
All right. Yeah. That is it. That is a very, very good point to conclude this message. Daktari, thank you for your time this morning. Looking forward to, again, having you once you find time for me and my listener. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you for inviting me.
I wish you a very reflective Holy Week and a happy Easter. I know tutaongea nyuma ya tent.
Thank you. Happy Easter too.
All right. Thank you so much, my brother. Okay. Thank you so much, my dear listener. And that has been my time this morning. Okay. And thank you for sparing time to tune in to Radio Mini 88.3 FM. Do have a very reflective Holy Monday. Let's do this again tomorrow, God willing.